You are Locked On Auburn, your daily podcast on the Auburn Tigers. Part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Yes, welcome on into Locked On Auburn, your daily Auburn Tigers podcast. I'm your host, Zac Blackerby, and thank you so much for making Locked On Auburn your first listen every single day. Fun show. At the end of today's show, we'll be joined by John Samuel Shenker, Auburn tight end, talk about what he thinks about Austin Davis and Zach Calzada and all of the stuff pertaining to the offense and offseason workouts. But first things first, we are joined by special guest today, Coach Pink with On3, AuburnLive.com. Man, you guys have been putting out such good content. And I was telling you this before we clicked record and jumped into today's show. But whenever Auburn lands a transfer, I am on AuburnLive.com refreshing the page until your film breakdown drops. You guys do such a great job, but welcome to the show.
I appreciate it, Zach. Thanks for having me on, man. I'm glad you like those write-ups. They take me just a little while to write. So I'm glad that's paying off.
Yeah, no, it definitely is. It definitely is. All right, so I wanted to have you on for several reasons. The first of which, by the time the show goes up, we will be less than a week away from quote unquote National Signing Day, which used to be like the Super Bowl of the offseason. Now it's pretty boring for the most part, but there's a few names out there, right, that Auburn fans should kind of keep an eye out and kind of be prepared to land or be in the running for. Is that right?
That's correct. Yeah, and usually this second signing day is pretty, like you said, it's pretty boring. But
yeah.
But for Auburn, I mean, you got 3, maybe 4. It could even go to 5 spots to fill. I don't even think the Auburn coaches know how many spots they're going to do yet, just because they, just the way that they do things, they're real selective, and they have certain guys they want. And if they miss on one of those guys, they're not really the kind of, staff that's going to reach for somebody.
Right.
So, that's all going to depend on who they can land, I think.
Sure. So the big one is Citizen, right? Trevante Citizen, the running back.
Yes.
He was posting pictures of him in an Auburn jersey the other day. Auburn fans seem to have liked that. Is Auburn the favorite for this guy?
Man, it's really close because LSU has been. I mean, he was committed to LSU first, right?
Yeah.
And during the summer, he made a really quiet official visit to Auburn and really hit it off with Cadillac. And they still have a great bond right now. So, in fact, I think that's like his number one bond, like with coaches, is him and Cadillac. They're really close.
Mm-hmm.
And, that was how Auburn got Tank Bigsby too, when they got him a long time ago.
Right.
So you have to like Auburn's chances when they have a need at running back, and Cadillac is honed in on this guy. And let me just tell you, he's a really good running back too. He's just got size, speed, it's got the whole thing. So
you have a comp for him? Would you compare him to a current player or a former player?
Yeah, I was thinking about that the other day. I don't know. He's kind of stocky, but his build doesn't really tell you what his skill set is, because he's got so much acceleration to be 215 pounds. I mean, that's why he's the number 2 running back when in our On3 rankings. I mean, he's a phenomenal player. I'll have to think on that comp. I'll get back to that.
Sure, absolutely. As far as other guys, I know Auburn fans are looking at every possible offensive tackle on the board. What's it, Farmer? That's the main one Auburn fans are looking at right now?
Yes, Florida commit, Jalen Farmer. He is from Covington, Georgia, so not too far from Auburn. I think he's somewhere sandwiched between Auburn and Florida, probably a little closer to Auburn in proximity.
Mm-hmm.
When Billy Napier took the job at Florida, he had a few commits there. They were the cupboard was kind of bare as far as commits they had in the 2022 class.
Right.
Had a lot of guys, decommit and whatever when Mullen left or got fired, whatever happened there. And he went through and he said, okay, there's about 3 or 4 guys here I really, really want to keep. Farmer was one of them, and he's still working on him right now. But Auburn just had him in for an official visit, and that was really important. They had him at the Iron Bowl. I talked to him real briefly at the Iron Bowl. He was having a great time, So
how could you not? That was crazy.
Yeah, that was a decent atmosphere, wouldn't you say?
Something like that. Like that.
I mean, yeah.
What do you think it is about Auburn's inability to seal the deal with these offensive tackles? I mean, it certainly looked like they were pursuing, and I'm sure they still are pursuing guys in the transfer portal. And for a few of them, it seemed like early on in the transfer process, Coach Pink, there would be guys that would put Auburn in their like final five and they wouldn't pick the Tigers. But then the other half that Auburn were going after, like Auburn didn't even make the top five. And these are guys that get on campus, they meet the coaches, they see, the path to playing time being pretty quick and, the definite need for the position, but they're not coming to Auburn. Why do you think that's the case?
It is a huge mystery why that's happening. At one time, I would have said that scheme had something to do with it. Just from looking, I've coached some offensive line before and on the college level, and I know what is enticing to a younger guy coming in, and anything that translates to the next level is going to be enticing, for a young, talented offensive line prospect. So what Gus was doing, I wouldn't call that pro style. I mean, it's, he had his own style going there. So now you got more of a pro style, and I thought that would help. So far, it hasn't really helped. But you did get a really good addition in Eston Harris. Really unfortunate deal with Drew Bobo because, it seemed like he liked Auburn, but, his dad was there, and that's part of it. And now that he's gone,
right,
you can't blame the kid for changing. So that was unfortunate,
right.
But yeah, man, I don't know. It is a mystery. I'm still trying to understand that one. But I will say this, just from talking to 2023, which is the next class, offensive linemen.
Huge class.
It's talented from top to bottom.
Yeah.
And Auburn is in on a bunch of guys really early. In fact, they feel pretty good about certain guys around the area. I think Will Friend was up in Massachusetts the other day because he's like, I've kind of covered these guys around here. Let me expand a little bit while I've got some time. So yeah, I think that class is going to look a lot better. We'll have to see. We'll have to see how they finish. But
does that fix the problem? If they go out and, let's say they nail the 2023 class, let's say they get 3 really solid offensive tackles.
Right.
How long does it take for that to become, a strength on the field? You know what I mean? Not till like the 2025 season.
Yeah, no, that is a big concern, and that's going to continue to be a concern. But you still have the portal. You can always get
right.
You say that, of course, Auburn hasn't gotten any offensive linemen out of the portal, but at the same time, you have all these guys coming back too. So it doesn't really look like a good situation to walk into if you're a guy that's transferring because you weren't playing as much as you wanted to, or you're looking for a starting job somewhere. Yeah. Auburn's not really looking good for you right now because, look, the way that the portal's going right now, I can assure you it's going to ramp back up even after spring practice. It's just going to happen all over again. It's going to continue like it has been. It might even be bigger. There are people at Auburn who think that they're gearing up for another big, transfer portal exodus all over the country. And I'm not talking about at Auburn. I'm talking about at other schools.
Everywhere, right?
Everywhere. That's just the new normal with it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, no, you're absolutely right. All right, Coach Pink, our guest with AuburnLive.com and On3. Hey, this is it. The putt to win the tournament. If you sink it, the championship is yours. But on your backswing, your hat falls over your eyes. Is this how you're running your business? Poor visibility because you're still relying on spreadsheets and outdated finance software. To see the full picture, you need to upgrade to NetSuite by Oracle. Over 28,000 businesses already use NetSuite. For the new year, NetSuite has a new financing program for those ready to upgrade at netsuite.com/locked. That is netsuite.com/locked. Coach Pink, one last guy that I wanted to ask you about as far as, prepping for National Signing Day next week. Tell me about the edge player that Auburn's kind of in the running for.
Yeah, that's Jack Pyburn.
Yeah, that's it.
He's from Florida, I believe. I can't remember exactly where.
Okay.
He's yeah, man. He's a late bloomer. He's a guy that was committed to Minnesota for a while. PJ Fleck. You have to trust his evaluation process. I think at this point he's done a pretty good job. Mm-hmm. He found this guy and he was committed for a while, and then all of a sudden after the first signing period, the guys that are left over are going to get more attention. That's just how it goes. And he was one of those guys, and he started getting attention from Miami and some of the in Florida State, in-state schools, and then Auburn jumped in there. So As of right now, I think Auburn's in pretty good shape to land him. It's going to be pretty close with Miami because Coach Cristobal over there had a prior relationship when he was at Oregon. I think they recruited him a little bit.
Sure.
And, Miami's a school that he's really familiar with, being from that area of the country. So that's going to be close, but I really do think Auburn has, no pun intended, the edge here.
Nice. Well done.
Yeah, and he's a wrecking ball. He's not really okay. Let's compare him to somebody like Romello Height, right? That just transferred out of Auburn.
I miss him already.
Yeah, I know that one's tough, but
yeah, I loved him.
So Height is the kind of guy that's going to bend the edge. He's not really an edge setter against the run. That's where this guy's a little different, and maybe, I don't know, maybe that has something to do with the way Schmedding wants to do things now that he's the defensive coordinator.
Right.
Because he and Burt Watts went out and pretty much got this guy in the midst of everything that was going on with Mason and identified him as a big target. So he is more of an edge setter than a pass rusher, although he does have that in his skill set as well. I think he's got a lot of untapped potential, definitely a sleeper. Yeah. So, if Auburn lands him, I think that's a really, really nice addition.
Sweet. All right. As far as guys that have come in via the transfer portal, Coach Pink, who has stood out the most to you so far? When, we're talking about, you do those film breakdowns whenever a new guy signs. Yes. Which one was the most fun of those to do and kind of comb through their film?
For those that are with us at Auburn Live on 3, that I am a big fan of Zach Calzada. I think
the Calzone.
The narrative about him is sort of interesting to me because it's not total excitement, and I'm not saying it should be just elation, but you should be excited because this guy is really poised in the pocket, and all of the people who wanted Bo Nix out at one time didn't like that about him because he didn't have great poise in the pocket.
Right.
And so that's going to be a change here. Now you probably say, well, Finley has good poise in the pocket. Yes, he does. But he also doesn't really have a great time clock. He will take a sack in a second, or he will hold the ball too long and miss his window.
Right.
Things like that. Those are the things that Calzada did well at Texas A&M, in my opinion. I was looking at the Ole Miss game that they lost. Texas A&M lost to them, and it was a big game. And Calzada threw 2 fourth-quarter interceptions. One of them hit his receiver in the hands, bounced off. So that's, tough deal there. One of them was a bad throw. I give him that. But the whole game, they threw out routes. They threw slants, nothing more than 10 yards. At the end, in the third quarter, fourth quarter, when they got down a little bit, whoever the play caller was, Jimbo, whoever their offensive coordinator is, he was starting to throw it downfield, and Calzada was on fire in that game. So the thing to me is maybe he was used a little too conservatively. I mean, when they had to open it up against Alabama, you see what happened there.
Right.
They had a really good game. And then you look at the game they played against Auburn. He was kind of quiet the whole game. He got hit in the shoulder by Smoke Monday. I think he separated his shoulder or something.
Yeah.
Comes back in. You're like, no way he's going to survive that, right? He's done for the game. He comes back in, and then he wins the game for him. Mm-hmm. He helps win the game. They ran the ball well, of course, but he made the throws that had to be made.
What do you think about the? Sorry to cut you off. What do you think about the dynamic and the narrative of? Well, he wasn't supposed to be playing yet. I mean, he was supposed to be sitting behind Haynes King and learning the offense and learning the college game, and the fact that he was thrust into a situation maybe a year or two a little bit too early, and he still performed at the level he did. That's kind of the point that I've heard the most about Calzada, where I'm like, okay, yeah, that makes sense. That totally makes sense. And now he can kind of use the timing of it all and, the experience from last year and kind of carry it to kind of being, okay, well, he was on schedule now to kind of play going into 2022.
Yeah, that makes a huge difference. A lot of people point to that quarterback battle between him and Haynes King and say, well, he lost straight up to Haynes King. Well, I mean, if you go by that, that thought train, then Joe Burrow he was like third string at Ohio State. Cam Newton lost to Tim Tebow. I mean, we could do that for a while. And of course they were freshmen, but I'm pretty sure Calzada was also a redshirt freshman, right?
Yeah. Good point.
So that kind of thing happens. Sometimes the fit's not right. Sometimes just certain things don't happen for you in practice, and then you get in the game and make those plays. That kind of thing happens all the time. Just from what I'm seeing from Calzada, and I've got a few breakdowns of him. I have 3 now, I think, to go along with the inside the commitment.
That's like a full day prep in those 3 stories.
It's fun, though. I really enjoy it.
Yeah.
I'm crazy like that. I don't know what.
You can tell because they're detailed. I love them.
Yeah.
But before we run out of time, I want to hear your thoughts. I love talking about corners. What's your thoughts on DJ James, the transfer from Oregon?
Well, first of all, he was to me as a high schooler, I thought he was a guy that Auburn needed to grab when he was at Spanish Fort playing for Coach Blackman over there.
Sure.
Man, he was really, really physical. I say physical. He's not a great open field tackler. He doesn't wrap up like he needs to. Even on the college level, he struggled with that some. But he's kind of like Jalen Simpson, where he's not that imposing corner, but making these big tackles, big hits out in open field, and then he's just knocking people off the routes. So, and he was doing that on the college level. So, man, I really, really like that addition. Obviously, they saw him right as he hit the portal and said, that's the guy we have to have. Bring him back to the state of Alabama. I think that's always important.
Is he, in your mind, is he an outside corner, or do they put him in the middle of the field somewhere?
I think he is a boundary corner, meaning he's a guy that probably doesn't need to be given too much space to work with. Put him on the boundary and let him bully somebody out of bounds off the route, legally. That's the kind of guy he is to me. Just that physical presence at corner, which I'm not sure Nehemiah Pritchett's that guy. Jalen Simpson has shown he can be that guy, but you got to have the speed with it too, and I think James does. So,
right. Yeah. Coach Pink, thank you so much for your time, man. Really, really appreciate it. We've messaged back and forth a good bit. I've read your stuff a ton. It's nice to finally chit-chat with you for a few minutes. How can folks support everything you guys are doing with On3, and how can they read all of your awesome work?
Yeah, Auburn Live on 3.com. You can follow us all on Twitter. You can follow Auburn Live on Twitter, and Cole Pinkston is my handle. And we are constantly, me, Justin Hokanson, Jeffrey Lee, Jay Phillips helps with basketball. He's a really, really good, mind as far as the basketball thing goes. And, that's pretty popular right now. I wish I could help with it, but I don't know much about basketball. So,
sure.
Just come check us out. All the content you could want, man.
Yeah, no, it's worth it. I signed up day one. It's absolutely worth it. Thank you, brother. I appreciate your time.
Yes, sir. Absolutely.
Sorry to cut you off there, Coach Pink. Hey, BetOnline wants to wish you a happy new betting year as we continue making money, doing what we all love, watching sports and betting on sports through betonline.ag. Use promo code LOCKEDON to get a 50% welcome bonus on your first deposit at BetOnline. BetOnline, where the game starts. Hey, also, a lot of you have already reached out and kind of asked more questions about this ad. Yes, I do use this, and yes, it's legitimate. Yes, I'm talking about the Get Upside app. You can save money and get cash back every time you fill up your car at the gas pump. Just use promo code SCORE, and you'll get an extra 25 cents per gallon cash back. It goes right into your Get Upside account, and you can deposit it at any time into your bank account, into your PayPal account. They can make it an e-gift card if you want. It's awesome. There's no reason not to check it out. Download the free Get Upside app and use promo code SCORE. Joining us now, Auburn tight end John Samuel Shenker. And, John Samuel, it seems like since the last time we talked, a lot has happened. But I know when we spoke a few weeks ago, you were getting ready to meet Auburn's new offensive coordinator, Austin Davis. How has y'all's relationship kind of picked up since the last time we talked?
It's been great. He got in, I guess a few weeks ago. He's been on the road recruiting throughout the week, but we catch up on the weekend, kind of grow our relationship a little bit, get to talk a little bit. I love him. He's a high-energy guy, a lot of knowledge about the game and insight, especially coming from the NFL. So it's been awesome to pick his brain a little bit, and once he gets off the road, it'll be great to sit down with him and talk with him and grow our relationship.
Whenever you guys talk, the scheme ever come up? I mean, as far as like what Auburn wants to do offensively in 2022, will it be drastically different than what you guys wanted to do in 21, or will it be a similar kind of ideology, regarding that approach?
I think it'll be pretty similar. I think it's because it's still Coach Harsin, so to an extent, it'll be similar. Maybe just a few tweaks here and there, but we haven't talked a ton of scheme yet. But he definitely brings a different energy to the offense, and we're really excited about that.
As far as what your role is in the offense, I mean, you kind of have the ability to be put all over the place, whether, you're lined up as a receiver, inside or outside, attached to the offensive line in the backfield. Is that something that you like, that you're kind of able to be put everywhere, or do you kind of prefer to be, in one specific role?
I love that. I love that, the ability to be able to do that. And, it gives you different looks. It forces you also to have every part of your game at the top of its game. And so I've enjoyed the challenge. Play, you're lined up on a corner, running around. Next play, you're trying to block a DN. So it's that's what I love about tight end. You have to do a little bit of everything, and it kind of shows your skill set overall. And I really enjoy that. And I've done it for a little while now, and kind of getting the hang of things with Coach Hart's things done. So it's been a lot of fun. I enjoy it. It's definitely a challenge.
Yeah, I mean, for years, you've been lining up out wide and then blocking folks downfield, and you just have to know that DBs hate that.
DBs can't stand that. When they get a tight end out there, they hate it, especially corners. Normally, corners are the guys that don't like to tacklers on the team normally, so they really don't like it when you get physical on the outside, which is good on the offense. You kind of set a tone, and down the road in the game, it can kind of change things and how they play you, and they'll start to dive down at your legs and things like that. So I enjoy it. I think it's a lot of fun, especially getting out on the perimeter, especially after you blocking some big dudes down the trenches. So I enjoy it.
Yeah, no, I'm sure you do. I'm sure that's a lot of fun. So also last time we sat down for a chat, Zach Calzada just announced that he was transferring to Auburn, and you had not yet had a chance to talk with him. It seems like he settled in fine. He was a big part of the student section this past weekend against Kentucky. It seems like he is enjoying his time here at Auburn. But what have your conversations with him been like so far?
Yeah, he's a character.
Really?
Yeah, I like him a lot. He's got great energy. He's got a lot of insight, especially coming from another SEC school, and just kind of seeing, his perspective on what Auburn is when they play Auburn, and that kind of helps with the guys on the team and how we prepare and do things. But yeah, he's awesome. He's a hard worker. I'm glad he's on our team, and he'll definitely help our team.
Does he strike you as a strong leader, somebody that can kind of come in and win over the locker room in an off season?
Yeah, very vocal guy. Okay. Everybody seems to like him. He's a very likable guy in the locker room. He just has a lot of energy, and he's a lot of fun to be around.
Yeah, cool. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. So how is your off-season process going so far, John Samuel? I know you wanted to talk about, or last time you talked about kind of your recovery process, as well as focus on putting on a little bit of weight going into 2022. How's all that going?
It's going good. It's slow and steady. I guess this is week 2 now of strength training, but it's good. I'm healthy. I'm liking the workouts. I'm just trying to gain weight slightly. You don't want to gain weight in a fast pace or anything. So. But it's going good. Today's our day off, but we'll get back at it tomorrow.
Cool. So at this stage of the year, are all of the workouts like organized and, the whole team is together? Is it by position group? Is it you go in when you want to? What does that look like?
So there's 3 different times for groups depending on your class schedule. So you'll hit one of those times, and then everybody comes back at 3:45 for a team run. That's 4 days a week. And normally during that, it's speed training and conditioning. You only condition twice a week, but you do speed training every day. And so you technically work out twice, but one's strictly weightlifting and one's strictly speed training conditioning. That's kind of the layout of the week.
Is the strength training and really just the strength and conditioning program, how different is it from your few years under the previous coaching staff versus the current coaching staff?
It's a lot different.
Really?
Yeah. So Coach Russell was awesome. He was more of a, I guess, athletic looking, and he was more less weight, move it faster. And Coach Pitt and his staff they had a little more weight. We still do some of the things where it's a light load and maximum efficiency, but for the most part, it's moving heavier weight, which it both ways works. It's just pretty much a personal opinion on what you think works best. But it's done well. We've gotten a lot stronger over the past year with Coach Pitt, and so he's gotten us to work pretty good, and so we're looking forward to seeing what happens when we come out of these winter workouts.
Is there one area of your game that you think has benefited more from this style of approach when it comes to strength and conditioning?
Yeah, I would say my blocking with my hand down.
Okay.
I thought that was a weakness of mine heading into last year, and I thought just my power was a lot better this year for the most of the year with Coach Pitt, because we trained throughout the year as well, and so to still have that strength midway and towards the end of the year, I could tell that it was helping me out in the long run with my blocking, especially with those big guys.
Right. John Samuel, thank you so much for your time, man. And we'll do this again in 2 weeks. Really appreciate it.
Absolutely. Thank you very much.